Yo, once again it's on. Back at you one more again, Real Kens TV in the house like motherfucking kitchen sinks. So I'm sitting back this morning and I found myself watching a couple Banky Pound videos. And obviously it started out with one video. And so I watched the first video, and I've seen Banky Pound videos before. Just haven't watched very many of them, but I've definitely seen a few of his videos. And so I watched the first one and I was like, wow, man. So I was intrigued, so I watched the second video. And Banky Pound got to talking about how in prison, how people get extorted. How in prison people have things taken away from them, but it's more so done on a level of finesse. Same thing Fleece Johnson often spoke of. The days of just going up to people, give me this. You know what I'm saying? Snatching and taking from people. Oh, it does definitely happen. But oftentimes people will try to more so finesse you to make it seem as though they're your friend. So he talked about how his cellie got a lot of money. He was a big dude or whatever. And it was another dude. And the other dude, I guess, got in good with his cellie. And so he would come over and hey, man, let me get a tuna. 3-4 times a week. Hey, man, let me get this. Let me get that. So it ended up being to where the cellie was essentially feeding the other dude. And the other dude had told Banky when the cellie wasn't around, man, I'm just using it. I'm going to get him for everything. I'm going to lean on him. That's the term that he used. I'm going to lean on him. And I'm going to get him for everything, that he's willing to give. And so it really, really resonated with the story that I was going to tell today. Before we go any further, just understand that I'm the self-proclaimed Mr. 30 Minutes or Better. All my videos are guaranteed to be 30 minutes or better. So if you're on your way to work, you're at work, you don't feel like being there, you're dragging, boss is getting on your nerves, you're on your way from work, you're trying to lay down and take a nap, go to sleep, depending on when you see the video, you need to laugh, you need to cry, you just want some good old-fashioned, true penitentiary stories, then this is the channel for you. So with all that being said, shout out to Banky Pound. Much love, much respect. I definitely rock with your channel. But there is a message. There's definitely a message this afternoon. I told a story quite some time ago, and this was when I wasn't getting very many views. Not to say that I'm getting an astronomical amount of views now, but at the same time, I'm appreciative for whatever views that I get. So if it's 15 views, if it's 30 views, if it's 100, if it's 1,000, I'm very appreciative because you all didn't have to take the time to watch my channel. I told a story about an individual, and to be perfectly honest, I rarely use real names. Every once in a while I will, and I've told you all this several times. But for the people that's never seen any of my videos, there are certain reasons that I don't use real names because I still have to walk these streets. Every story that I tell is legitimate, a true story. So when I walk these streets, I can't be talking about Tyrone got raped in prison and Tyrone lives, close to me and we're in the same city. And then I run across Tyrone or Tyrone runs across me. You see what I'm saying? So I'll use the true story, but a different name. So in this particular situation, I spoke of an individual that did, I'm not going to necessarily say what most of us would have done, but he did what he felt like he needed to do. So we're just going to call him Jason. We're going to call him Jason today. Y'all rock with me, man. We're going to call him Jason. Jason was in a situation where his wife, they didn't get along. They had 2 kids, a boy and a girl. The boy was the oldest. They were like a year and a half, 2 years apart at most. And they ended up getting a divorce. So when they got a divorce, the kids were devastated, as they, one could expect. The little boy wanted to go with the dad, and the little girl wanted to go with the mother. Well, Jason was a stand-up type guy. Most guys that I know with the name of Jason are stand-up guys. Shout out to my dog Jason V, man. Y'all go check his YouTube channel out, man. The family channel, man. He got kids. His little girl, man, she's precious. She's on the dance team. Lovely wife, respectfully. Son Trey's a beast. He's a beast on that. He on that mat. He's a wrestler. Y'all go check out Jason, man. Jason V, man. Got a YouTube channel, man. Go check him out. You a family person. You like to see just good interaction, good, family ties or whatever you may deem it. Go check out Jason. So let me get back on track because I will go way left. Actually, this is right, but maybe it's left to you all. Is this left? I don't know. But at any rate, dude was a decent dude. So even though he wanted his son to be with him, because people often say it takes a man to raise a man. I don't know if that's true. I don't know. I lean to, I think that that's more so on the true side, but it's no slight to the women because I know women, they do the best that they can do. And all type of successful men out here that were raised solely by their mothers. He didn't fight it. He just said, okay, every other weekend, my kids come stay with me. And, oftentimes the son would, try to come over like every weekend, every day if he could. And so, it was painful for Jason. He didn't want the divorce or what have you, but, it just wasn't working out. And so, the proceedings happened, months passed, a year or so passed, 2 years. And the mother ends up meeting somebody. They feeling each other. And the more and more, the closer that they get, the more and more that they're seeing each other. So at some point, guess what happens? The kids have to be introduced to this individual. Ends up to where the dude moves in. They end up getting married. So when I'm saying this, when I'm giving you all this story, it's some time has passed. They end up getting married and everything's all good. The kids are there. They go to their father's house. The father and Jason, well, not the father, so let's rewind that. The stepdad, we're going to call him the stepdad, and Jason, the actual dad, biological dad, if you will. Everything's cool, man. Nobody's arguing. There's no conflict, no confrontation. Jason's moved on with his life. He just hasn't gotten into a element of being in a serious relationship. But he's cool with how things are. He accepts it. The little girl, she's cool. She's cool with it. She likes her stepdad. Of course, she loves her biological dad. So, she's going back and forth. Everything's cool. But it was one problem. The son wasn't feeling that, man. The son wasn't feeling that whatsoever. I want to go live with my dad. Why do I have to be over here, with this guy? He's not my father. So the son, he wasn't necessarily disrespectful. He was just more so distant. And so where the stepfather is just kind of like, I guess he was an understanding guy. I don't know. I don't really know his situation and how he was. But from what I've been told, the daughter was more engaging and a willing participant. But the son, he was just distant a little bit. Didn't have really much to say. But he wasn't a disrespectful kid. And so it got to the point to where, over time, he'd go see his dad, whatever. They go fishing. They do all the things that fathers and sons do along with the daughters. And he didn't want to go back home. So Jason would often have to tell his son, listen, I understand that you're hurting. I'm a phone call away. Not to say that a phone call is going to make everything better, but you can always pick up the phone and call me. I'm always going to be there for you. I'm your father no matter what. Even if we're not in the same household, I'm always your father and I'm always going to be there for you. So this was just an ongoing battle that Jason would have with his son. One weekend, his son comes over. Everything's cool, man. They got their own room at their father's house. The father, takes them out. And as I've mentioned, Jason is a very, very good father. Spends quality time with his kids. It's time to go home. Well, as I mentioned earlier, the daughter, she has no problem. But the son, I know, Dad, I can't go home. I don't want to go home. Son, we already talked about this now. Now, you and I have had a discussion. You got to go home. You got to go to school. But, Dad, you don't understand. Son, I understand. But you have to go home. Dad, he did something to me. What do you mean he did something to you? Who did something to you? My stepdad. He didn't call him by stepdad, but I don't know what his name is. My stepdad, so we'll just go by that. My stepdad, he grabbed me by my shirt one day and pushed my head into the wall. It was something like that. Something to that magnitude. What? He did. Are you? Hold on, son. Hold on, son. Are you sure? Why don't you believe me, Dad? I would not lie. That's why I don't like going back home, because he always yelling at me. He's always fussing at me. He puts his hands on me, and I'm afraid of him. Have you told your mother about this? No, because I'm afraid that if I tell my mother, he told me that if I say anything, that it's just going to be worse. And I just don't want it anymore. I just want to be with you, Dad. So any of y'all that have gone through divorce, the pain, the struggle, the kids being separated when they're used to being in a same household with both of their parents. And now it feels as though they're being divided. As though they have to make a choice in certain situations. It could be very, very traumatic for kids. Jason's heated. He has no reason to doubt his son. Why would my son lie to me? My son would never lie to me. I believe at the time his son was like 10 or 11. Nah, this ain't gonna ride, man. You put your hands on my son? You put your hands on my son? I know my son. My son is a respectful, mannerable young kid. Yeah, he's hurting. He's going through the trauma of his mother and I not being together, but you put your hands on my son? Then he's imagining, he's looking at the stepfather, nice-ass dude. I don't know exactly his stature. I don't know exactly, what he looked like. But from what I was told by Jason, which I'll get to that later in the story, dude looked like he worked out, went to the gym all the time, kept himself in shape. Jogged 4 or 5 miles a day, one of them type individuals, Ain't like he was 6'4", 6'5", and then like Eddie, probably 5'11", He's probably 5'11". No, seriously. Y'all not getting me off track, and there's no joking. I'm being dead serious. It's 5'11". Allegedly. Jason is furious. Jason is a laid-back guy, but Jason is also a man. He's about his kids, about his family. He's laid back. He's cool, calm, collective. Got a career. He got a house, a mortgage. He, a couple cars, and 401k and all of the things. Stocks, bonds, CDs, IRAs. He's done very well, and was a responsible individual. A couple properties he was, renting out. Far from rich, but just a, responsible individual. Probably 800 credit score. I strive to be all of those things, by the way. But he also had another side to him, which most of us do when it comes to our kids, man. Do something to me all you want. But when it comes to my kids, my mother, my father, my immediate family, nah, man, the buck stops there. Okay. Jason said, I'm going to go have a talk with the stepfather. Son, go home. Do what your mother tells you to do. I got this. Dad, trust me, son. Have I ever lied to you? Have I ever let you down? No, Dad, you never let... I got you, son. I'm going to take care of this situation. I'm going to speak with your mother, and I'm going to make sure that he never, ever, ever in life puts his hands on you ever again. Just trust me and allow me to handle this. Jason proceeds to talk with the daughter. He's never done anything. He's nice to me. No problems. Jason pulls up one day. Now he knows what time roughly the stepdad gets home. Jason pulls up on him. Kids is at school. His ex-wife, there's nobody there but the stepdad. Actually, when Jason arrives, he's just sitting there, he's waiting because the stepdad hasn't, come home yet. I guess he rang the doorbell and he wasn't there or whatever, so he sits in his car and he's waiting on the dude, but he's across the street. Eventually, the stepdad pulls up. Jason sees him. I don't know what happened. He went from 0 to 100 real quick. Because he was initially just trying to talk to the dude. Asking what the problem was, man. Why you putting your hands on my son? My son told me this. As I mentioned, Jason had a different side to him. Jason had a shotgun with him. Dude pulls up. Jason's trying to talk to the dude. The dude is acting as though he didn't know what was going on. Oh, you calling my son a liar? You saying that my son is lying? Listen, bro, I don't know. Jason goes back to the car, grabs that shotgun. The dude sees it. The stepdad sees it. He takes off running towards the back of the house. You know how you can go like to the side of the house and then eventually you'll, be to the back of the house. Boom! Jason fires on him. You could just hear it like when it the way that it was explained to me. No, I was not there. No, this is not my story. This was told to me specifically by Jason. Just listen to the interview and you'll understand when it's all said and done. Boom! Fires again. Big old hole in the fence or whatever. It's loud. Neighbors are scared. People's panicking. People's calling the police. All of a sudden, Jason gets back in, like he jumps back into his right frame of mind. What am I doing? Oh my God, what am I doing? He didn't hit the dude. He didn't hit the stepfather. Jason gets in his car, drives away. Well, as one could imagine, people have called the police. There's surveillance. There's all type of, cameras, what have you. Jason's not the type of guy that's going to go on the run. Turns himself in, goes to the police station rather, tells them what happened. Goes to jail. Attempted murder. I mean, you're trying to assassinate this dude, essentially. You're trying to, and wanting endangerment. Wanting endangerment means if you fire, even though you was firing at this particular individual, there's other houses, there's other people walking their dogs, walking their, just out and about, watering their grass or just the swimming pool, just whatever that they may be doing at the time, you could have hit them. So it's called wanton endangerment. Carries 10 to 20 in the state of Kentucky. He gets arrested. Sits in jail a few days, makes bond. Like I said, Jason wasn't rich, far from rich, but he was far from broke. He makes a $50,000 bond, I believe it was, somewhere right around in there. It was a hefty bond. State of Kentucky, your bond is your bond, especially on a violent charge. So your bond is $50,000 is what you're going to pay. There is no automatic 10% to where you pay $5,000. And we have no bail bondsmen in Kentucky. If your bond's $50,000, $70,000, $80,000, that's what your bond's going to be, unless your lawyer can go in and convince that judge to reduce your bond and give you 10% or less. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But in violent cases, it often doesn't. In this case, even though Jason had never been arrested a day in his life, no record whatsoever, judge wasn't trying to hear that. Luckily for Jason, he had the means to make bond. He makes bond. Well, obviously at that point, his kids, they're no longer allowed to come over and see him. He's a danger to his kids now. Isn't that a trip? Father has always been there. Everything that he's done and supposed to do as far as a responsibility level, what have you, he's gone above and beyond. But now all of a sudden he's a danger to his kids for protecting his kids. He's still able to talk to the kids on the phone because they're of age. Like I said, 9, 11, 9 and 10. They were like stair steps. They're going to call their father, man. They're going to figure out a way to get in contact with their father. A case of this magnitude takes a long time in the court proceedings, if you will. Year and a half, 2 years goes past or whatever. He's really, really crushed, man. He gets to drinking. He falls into a depression because my kids are my world, man. Now I can't see my kids. I know I overreacted, man, but just the anger and just the arrogance of this guy, seemingly the arrogance, and I just lost it for a second. I know I shouldn't have done that. I should have handled it a lot better. But I can't see my kids, man. Everybody loves their kids. Just imagine, man, you can't see your kids anymore. You have to talk to them when they can sneak and get on the phone and call you. He sinks into a depression, but he's still having to deal with what he's dealing with, going back and forth to court and things of that nature. He's going to go to trial with it. He has a high-priced attorney, but his attorney's telling him, like, we can go to trial with this. We can go to trial, but I don't know. I don't know if is a jury really going to buy that. You're facing a lot of time here. You're facing 40, 50 years. At the end of the day, it was best for all parties to take the plea deal. State of Kentucky, when you take a plea deal, you don't know if you're going to get probation, but you can ask for probation. So, for instance, you take a plea deal. Jason took a plea deal for 12 years. He took the plea, but then you come back to court about between 30 days and 6 weeks, 45 days or what have you. And at that point, either you're going to be taken into custody, or the judge is going to allow you to go home on some form of probation. But you don't know what you're taking a plea for. You know the amount of time, and sometimes you don't even know the amount of time, because if you have multiple counts, so if you're facing 5 years on this count, 10 years on this count, 3 on this count, 6 on this count, the judge has the option of running everything together, which is called a concurrent sentence. Okay, I'm going to give you a total of 8 years, and all the other counts, we're just going to run them all in together for a total of 8. But he could run it consecutive and say, I'm going to give you 8 on this charge, 3 on this charge, 2 on this charge, 6 on this charge, and run them all wild, which is the same thing as consecutive, and give you 20 years, 25 years. The judge's discretion. You don't know what you're going to get. This is the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Can't talk about Tennessee. Can't talk about Georgia. I can't talk about, other states. I'm talking about Kentucky. He ends up with a 12-year sentence. And during the time that this was going on, he was getting everything in order for the simple fact that, I know that I may go away. I can't maintain my home if I'm gone. If I get a 12-year sentence or whatever sentence that I get. So, he's had to sell and liquidate a lot of his assets for cash, just in case. Then the dude could turn around and sue him. So there's a whole lot of things that he was dealing with. Gets to 12 years. Judge doesn't give him probation. Boom. Back in the county jail. You're going to sit in the county jail for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Sometimes longer, waiting to get sent off to the rotary farm, aka the fish tank, where they process you, as I often have told the people, do a mental evaluation, physical evaluation, psychologically or whatever, and figure out where you're going to go as far as level wise, classify you to what level prison you're going to go to. He's still contacting his kids. Kids have a phone, so he's able to call and contact them or whatever. One day his dad tells him, or his son tells him rather, Dad, I need to talk to you. What's up, son? I mean, you're not having any more problems, anything like that. I mean, what's going on? I mean, I miss you. Now, let me tell you this before I go any further. The 12-year sentence, the reason that he took the 12 years is because it was a regular 12 years. Well, real Kens, what is regular 12 years? We don't know this prison lingo. By God, let us know. I've never even had a traffic ticket. How would I? A regular 12 years means you do 20% to the parole board. You're going to do on 12 years, I believe in Kentucky, what is 20%? You do like 29 months and then you go up for parole. What I failed to mention is the whole time that he was out on bond, Jeff, he was on an ankle monitor. They didn't just let him out. He was on an ankle monitor so they could monitor. You know, he was allowed to go to work, church, grocery store, things of that nature. He had to be home by a certain time. But that time counted towards his sentence. So you got to do 29 months in order to be eligible for parole on a 12-year sentence. He had pretty much done that. He had done maybe 2 years at home. Close to 2 years. I don't remember the exact, figures. But he had done close to 2 years on the ankle monitor. So by the time he went to the county jail, it's going to take him a couple months to get sent to the rotary farm. By the time his paperwork got processed with the Kentucky Department of Corrections, he was pretty much going to be eligible for parole immediately. So he's talking to his son, man, on the phone, and I have something to tell you, Dad. I know you're going to be mad at me, and I've been wanting to tell you, but I just didn't know how to tell you. And what's up, son? Now his son is, at this point, he's, 13 years old. Somewhere like, 12, 13 years old. I want to say 13. Please promise me you'll still be my dad. What's up, son? I'm going to love you regardless, man. You my son, man. There's nothing that you can do that was ever going to change that. You are my son. What's going on? I know you're going to be mad at me, but my stepdad never touched me. What do you mean, son? He never did. But you said, I know, Dad, it was just, I love you so much, and you my dad, you my hero, you're my everything. You're the person that I love my mother just as well, but I want to be with you, Dad. And at the time I thought that by saying this, that he hit me, and that he, did these terrible things to me, that I would be able to come and live with you. See, the son was like 13 at the time, as I mentioned, so his maturity level has really, and the guilt, his consciousness, it was eating at him. Now I'm paraphrasing a lot of these things, The truth of the matter is that he's never been nothing but good to us, man. I was just mad because he would make me take the trash out. I was just mad because he would make me clean my room up, but Mom never did. I was just mad because I had to do chores, and Mom never made me do that until he moved in, and I just wanted to be with you. So he's never done anything to you, son? Never? Oh, Dad. He asked me to go camping. He asked to go play hoops with me. He tries to help me with my pitching in baseball. He tries to come in and play video games with me. Wow. How can you really be mad at your son, but at the same time you're, this is wild. It's on a prison phone just as well. Wow. This is crazy. You can't cuss your son out. He's 13 years old. You can't. You're sitting in prison, but in your mind, you're sitting in prison. And it's like two ways of looking at it. My son had that much love for me that he was going to go out on a limb and lie just to come in and live with me, thinking that he could come and live with me. But this is the mentality of a 10, 11-year-old at the time. But at the same time, his lies and deceit and deception got me 12 years in the penitentiary, and I ain't never even had a traffic ticket. Maybe a traffic ticket. 1 or 2 traffic tickets over my life. But did I have to react that way? I should have been more responsible. So I can't blame my son or anyone else, because I should have been more responsible in my reactions. Because for every action, there's a reaction. Good or bad, there's a reaction. I'm sitting in a penitentiary, man, for something that this man didn't even do. I done fired at him. I could have killed this man. Unalived this man. But at the end of the day, this is my son, man. So if my son tells me that it's raining, I'm not going to ask, or if it's supposed to rain, rather, I'm not going to ask when. I'm going to just go get my raincoat because my son said it. Y'all rock with me. I got to take 2 drinks off that. Understand this, parents. We all want to believe our kids. Anything our kids tell us, we want to believe it because that's our kids. Well, why would they lie? The parents give their kids so much leeway, if you will. Not my kid, not my son, not my daughter. Yes, your son, yes, your daughter. Because at the end of the day, we can teach them, we can show them, but we never really know exactly what they're doing when we're not around. We hope and we pray that they do the right thing. Y'all remember the movie Boys in the Hood? For you all to seen that, if you haven't, go check it out. Trey's best friend Ricky got unalived by the gangsters. Trey went and got with some gangsters, which he wasn't a gangster, but he went and got with some gangsters Doughboy, which was played by Ice Cube, and they went out and they was gonna ride, they was gonna retaliate against the dudes that killed Ricky, Trey's best friend. And they're riding, and at the same time, they're looking for these gangsters. Yo, Doe. This is Trey, played by Cuba Gooding Jr. Doe. Everybody's cleaning they gats. They got their rags, they blue rags or whatever. They ready to go, put in some work. Let me out. Doe. Doughboy, played by Ice Cube. He's driving. Let me out. And at the same time, while he's saying that, it cuts to the father, played by Lawrence Fishburne. The dude that played Matrix or whatever. He got these balls in his hand. These silver brass balls. Paws. Double paws. Triple paws. Infinity paws. But that's what they were. And he was doing like this with the balls. The brass balls in his hand. And it was a symbolization of there was nothing that he could do about it. But he knows that he's taught his son the right things. The right things in life. What to do and what not to do. He raised his son as a single father. I believe in Compton. South Central. And so as he's sitting there rubbing these balls, that's what they were. His son Trey walks through the door. He got blood on his shirt, his pants, all over, because when his best friend Ricky had passed away, he had grabbed him. Come on, Ricky, man, stay with us, man. Don't. So he had blood on him. Ricky didn't make it. He comes through the door. His father just looks at him. Trey goes in his room, lays down, and just begins to really just cry, man. Shed tears. You see, he had raised Trey to always do the right thing. Before a second, Trey got off track. Trey jumped into some gangster action. But then he remembered everything that his father had taught him. It was like he was having flashbacks of when they was younger. And he Trey, you ever had sex? You know what it means to be a father? You know what it means? So all of the things that his father taught him, Dad, well, I always got to clean up the house. Why? Because I pay the bills. I make sure you got clothes on your back, shoes on your feet. I make sure that you eat every night. I make sure. So, yeah, you're going to, do the chores that you're required to do. Teaching him how to be a man. All of these things was like a flashback in Trey's head. So when he said, Doe, let me out, Doe offered no resistance. They let him out. And they went and handled the business, got back at the dudes, but Trey didn't have anything to do with that. Went on home, and eventually they ended up dealing with Doughboy. But actually, they didn't end up dealing with Doughboy. Been a long time since I've seen Boys in the Hood. But they didn't end up dealing with him. My thing is this. It was just one of those things to where Jason did jump the gun. He should have, hindsight is 20/20, I know. He should have talked to the mother. He should have talked to the stepfather. But he didn't do it. So henceforth, he ended up with 12 years in the state pen. Now, I want to alert you all and let you know there's a part 2 to this story. I recently heard from Jason. Yes, Jason and I, he reached out to me. We've been corresponding because it was a while before he actually had to go to prison. Jason and I have been corresponding. And he hasn't been having the best of times in the penitentiary. And I'm going to give you all that. But it's going to be part 2. Can't give it to you right now. But I'm going to bring you part 2. Maybe later on tonight. This evening. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know. Depends. Let me know in the comment section if you all want part 2. Because it's definitely a part 2 to this story. I've talked to Jason several times. And his real name's not Jason. The story's real. But his real name's not Jason. I've spoken with him. And there's a very, very interesting, not necessarily twist to this story. And I know the people that's never been in prison before and don't understand how it works. Well, real Kens, all he had to do is have his son go forth and say that he was lying and he never did these things and he would just be able to come home. That's not how the appeals process works, okay? Most people that go to prison, only 5% of the people even get their cases back into court. 5%. It's not a lot. Every million cases, what is 5%? 50,000? No, we're going to break it down on a smaller level because that still seems high, 50,000. We're not looking at the overall. We're just looking at 50,000. 100 people go to court, get convicted. Only 5 people get their cases back into court. And just because you get your case back into court, you're heard by the Supreme Court and they remand your sentence to where they go back and they have to start the whole process all over. It's not like you just get out. They just remand your sentence and you go back and start the whole process all over again. That don't mean that you're going to get a acquittal. You may end up with less time, which they call that giving back time. So it's a long, long process. It takes years. 5, 6, 7, 8. Heck, 5, 6 years is short. A lot of people hit me up and say, Real Kens, man, I did time, man. Everything you saying, man, you 100, man. You dead on the, because I don't make up stuff. I'm telling you what it is, man. I ain't no gangster. Never been no gangster. I've done a couple gangster things, but I ain't never been no gangster. I ain't never been no maximum security prisons, because the only ones they really have in Kentucky that I know of is Eddyville, maybe Eastern. But all prisons in Kentucky is different from other states. So the weirdo that was in my comments, oh, this guy's just been in minimum security prisons and he's trying to lead you all to think that he's been in maximums and I don't even know where you get that from, dude. People that rock with me know I'm a white collar criminal, man. I tell you that in a heartbeat. But I done been behind them walls several times. A few different establishments behind the walls. Not proud of it because there's nothing really to brag about. But let the truth be the truth. And the truth shall set you free, which I don't think the truth always sets you free, especially in the legal system. Nevertheless, y'all stay tuned for part 2. It's going to blow your mind, man. It's going to absolutely blow your mind when I tell you what happened in part 2 of this real story. Hopefully you like the video. Feel free to comment, definitely share, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And be sure to hit that post notification anytime I bring you this action and this banky pound heat. Guess what? You're amongst the first to receive. Now, a lot of people, oh, Kens, man, why you hating on Banky Pound? When I say this Banky Pound heat, I mean because I know he was putting in that work. I've heard the stories. Talk to Jay Williams. Shout out to Jay Williams. Free Jay Williams, by the way. He'll be home real soon, November, and he's going to bring that real action and that real heat when he gets home in a little bit over 90 days. Trust me. We correspond still. It's no slight to Banky Pound, but people always want to pit you against each other, man. You know what I mean? Absolutely no disrespect. I believe everything that the guy, for the most part, talks about. Now, the reason I say for the most part, because we're YouTubers. You see what I'm saying? We have to bring you out some sort of entertainment. But at the end of the day, it's all about the kids and keeping these kids out of these early graves and these penitentiaries, man.